Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome once again inside the gymnasium here at Milford High School, as Milford TV is happy to bring you coverage of Scarlet Hawks athletics. This is Tim Coet on the call as we begin our coverage of the 2019 MIAA tournament here during the spring sports season. The Milford Scarlet Hawks boys volleyball team already underway in their playoff run, and they get set to host a quarterfinal matchup here in the Milford gym tonight. And they take on a very tough opponent in this MIAA tournament in St. John's of Shrewsbury. Milford, as I mentioned, already a game deep into this playoff run. They entered into the D1 Central bracket of the MIAA tournament as the number 2 seed, finishing up with an 18-3 regular season, and they turned that dominant regular season into a very impressive start to their playoff run. A 3-set sweep against the number 15 seed Keefe Tech back last Friday afternoon here in the Milford gym, and that was a breeze of a match for the Scarlet Hawks. As it turned out, they won set 1 25-8, a 25-4 win in set 2 before finishing it off in straight sets, claiming the win in set 3 25-11. So not a lot of time on the court needed for that victory for the Scarlet Hawks last Friday, so that sent them on to the quarterfinals against an opponent that is very familiar for a couple of different reasons for Milford in St. John's. Of course, these two teams were league rivals in the Western Alliance up until this season. Milford spending the last couple of years in the Western Alliance before making the jump to the Tri-Valley League, so these teams have some history on the court, and also some history between these coaches as well. Coach Andrew Mainini, of course, the head coach here for Milford, and on the St. John side, it is Dan Seaver at the helm. That is a very familiar name, of course, during his playing days here in Milford, also a brief stint as the girls varsity volleyball coach here in Milford, but now the head coach for St. John. So some history for the coach on the other side of the floor as this match gets underway tonight. It should add an added layer of intrigue to what should be a very good matchup. And we're looking forward to getting it started for you here tonight. Again, Milford hosting St. John's of Shrewsbury in the quarterfinal round of the MIAA playoffs. We are just getting started here. We'll have the beginning of set number 1 right after this, so stay with us on Milford TV. An excellent playoff atmosphere here in the Milford gym. Playoffs once again alive and well for the Scarlet Hawks boys volleyball team. A nice run for this team last year, as they advanced all the way to the D1 Central semifinal round, looking for a return trip to the semis here in 2019, but they will have to take care of business here tonight against St. John's. Set 1 about to get started. Again, Milford sewing up the number 2 seed in this D1 Central bracket by virtue of that 18-3 regular season. St. John's finished the regular year at 16-6. That earned them the number 7 seed in this D1 Central bracket. Both teams playing in first round action. Milford with a sweep against Keefe Tech, and for St. John's, they were able to defeat number 10 seed Wachusett 3-1 to earn this trip here to Milford tonight. This game getting underway just after 6 o'clock in the evening, and we are very happy to be live streaming this playoff coverage for you tonight. As always, live streaming our sports coverage both on milfordtv.net and also on the live stream app. And so we welcome everyone aboard to what should be an outstanding matchup of two schools with a good-natured rivalry between the two. A couple of years in which they shared residence in the Western Alliance. St. John's still in the Western Alliance. Milford now part of the Tri-Valley League. And all eyes now on Lucas Caetano as he releases the first serve of this playoff match. Good size up front for the Pioneers as they return that over. Now Joao Boaventura gets the deflection off the hands of the back row, and the first point of this match goes to the Scarlet Hawks. Deflected off the hands. Number 14, one of the captains of the St. John's squad, Eric Backman, but he could not handle the return shot from Boaventura, so an early lead for the Hawks. Milford shedding their typical home whites for this all business, all black look. Nice effort from Caetano in the back. Milford keeping that ball alive, but it took the hop off the netting. And St. John's quickly evens things up. Now they will start off on serve for the first time with another of their captains, David Wickstrom. A senior heavy varsity squad from St. John's. That soft serve comes to the back. Played there by Zach Brown, and the kill from the left side for Boaventura, who is pumped up. At times, Boaventura can be one of the more reserved personalities out there on the court, but showing some good intensity after collecting that kill. And now the senior captain, Tiago Carvalho, with his first serve. A tremendous student section here for the playoff game on the Milford side, all of them standing right now. Here's Zach Brown from the right side, now over the middle, and the point's going to be awarded to Milford after the double hit up front for St. John's. A 3-1 lead early for the Scarlet Hawks. And Carvalho's serve out to the near side. For this tournament game, the officiating crew expanded to a 4-person crew. We have the high official and the low official at the net, and then 2 officials on each back line. The serve away now for St. John's, handled by Caetano. They'll set it up over the middle for Gabe Brandow. A tomahawk shot from Brandow for the kill. The juniors continued to make his presence felt out there on the court in the second half of the season, and a huge play there, and some confusion now for Milford. And Carvalho can't save it beyond the back line. I believe that was Orellano and Caetano both going after that ball hard. Working out the communication after the fact, as now it's down to a 1-point lead for Milford. So some close play here early on, as both Milford High School alumni on each sideline anxiously look at the progress of their respective teams. That ball deflecting off of Orellana up front and out. And the Pioneers tie this first set up at 4. It is deafening in this Milford gym right now, so communication tricky for these two teams. Serve now goes to Tommy Donahue, another senior captain for St. John's, 4 captains in all. Good hard serve dug out by Carvalho. They'll now set it up for Boaventura, the little flick shot and a diving play to keep that alive for Donahue. Now Orellana will set it up over the middle for Zach Brown, gets the deflection, it goes off into the stands for a Scarlet Hawks point. Absolutely sensational energy here in the Milford gym in set number 1. Now a 5-4 lead for Milford. All of the Milford bench standing as well as Boaventura releases that line drive serve. The return will come from the left side and out of the reach of Tiago Carvalho. The kill for Eric Beckman. And tied up again, so already a lot of pushback from St. John's in this first set. Milford allowing double-digit points in only one of the 3 sets they claimed against Keefe Tech on Friday. It was a lopsided match, but a different story here early on as St. John's is now going to take a 6-5 lead. Good fan support here for St. John's as well. And the Pioneers going on a run now as that ball eluded the dive of Joao Boaventura. An ace for Spencer Sweeney. And now that one coming awkwardly away from Carvalho, but Milford saves it that time. Orellana from all the way beyond the near sideline, and that finally stops the momentum swing, at least for the moment. St. John's in the midst of a 6-1 run, broken up but only briefly as Matt Dake takes over on serve. He'll come right back to the bench after that serve was delivered long. And Milford not quite working at peak efficiency right now. It is very warm in this Milford gym, and it's only going to get warmer as the match goes on, given the amount of bodies in here right now. A strong serve met by Carvalho. Clean setup for Zach Brown, and Brown is able to get the kill. Sent it off the hands of Ansh Patel. And Brown now, after getting the kill, takes over on serve with his team down a point in the first set. Serve to the back, played by the libero. Now popped over the middle, but blocked. Another chance for Milford, but sent beyond the back line off the hands of Tiago Philadelphio. Was blocked nicely initially by Clayton Pickett, but St. John's sending it back over, and Philadelphia a little bit too amped up on the return. A 2-point edge for St. John's. And on serve now is Eric Backman. High toss. Serve drifts over to Boaventura, who plays it. Now the flip shot over by Clayton Pickett. Outstanding. Changed up the timing for St. John's. Back down to a 1-point lead for the Pioneers as the serve goes back to Caetano. As we mentioned, some good size here for St. John's. It's playing a role here, especially up at the net. You can see in particular Casey Sullivan. Lengthier than anything Milford has out on the floor. He'll take a seat on the bench for the moment. And really just figuratively speaking, as both benches are standing at the ready on their respective sidelines. And a momentary disagreement between the two officials on where that ball landed. The judge on the back line ruled it out, but was overruled by the official up top at the net. And the Milford fans will take it. So a big swing as it is now 10-9 St. John's. Changing that score again after the two officials got together. And Milford trying to now swing momentum back into their favor for the first time since the early points. Milford leading this one 4-1 early, but they've been in a dogfight since. Carvalho's serve away. Setup drifts over to the left side. And a violation up front from the Scarlet Hawks pushes the lead back onto the St. John's side of the floor. Coach Dan Seaver very pleased with what he's seen early on from his team. Tied up at 11. Continuing to see more and more volleyball alumni show up in the house for this matchup. A lot of the girls varsity volleyball team now watching on anxiously as Milford sends another serve too far and unable to reclaim the lead. Tommy Donahue on serve for the Pioneers. And he blasts one just beyond the back line, and we're knotted up once again, this time at 12 all. Coach Dan Seaver with a tweet a couple of days ago once this matchup was set, saying everything goes full circle back to where I learned what this game was. Dan Seaver, all kinds of history in this Milford gym as a player. Beginning his coaching career here with the girls volleyball program. Now finding a home in St. John's and doing an excellent job with this boys program. And there, Zach Brown with a big play up front for Milford. Once again, changing up the timing. Milford does that so well. So much power on this Milford side that sometimes it's easy to get players cheating away from the net, and that's when you can exploit those weak spots on the floor. Orellana sets that back for Boaventura, who drifts it over. Milford back on top, 13-12, looking to maintain a lead now. Here's Brown, pushes that over, hard deflection. Bit out of control for St. John's, but they're able to return. Now here's Brown, and that is in. One of our longest volleys of the match so far, and the point awarded to the Scarlet Hawks. They're up now 14-12. And the student section making their voices heard once again, bringing a raucous atmosphere to this D1 Central quarterfinal matchup. Orellana sets it for Boaventura, but way too strong on the shot. And a similar tone to this match to what we saw a couple of weeks ago when Milford played Natick in the regular season. The Hawks unable to expand a lead. That ended up coming back to hurt them in a couple of sets in a match that the Hawks ultimately lost 3-1. A lot of key losses in the regular season for Milford against playoff caliber competition, trying to learn from the mistakes they made in the regular season and not make them again here when the games count the most. Here's Philadelphia. Sent that right into the midsection of Michael McCabe. He could not react quickly enough. And it's back up to a 2-point margin for the Scarlet Hawks, and another chance on serve for Matt Daig. Better serve this time. Now a dig for Matt Daig. Philadelphia slaps it over. Now from the left side, pushed back to Daig. He makes the play again. Now Philadelphia with a rocket. Ricochets off the hands of David Wickstrom for another Milford kill. And the largest lead for Milford since the early stages of this set, now up 16-13, trying to get on a roll. Another line drive serve met by Wickstrom. The block for Clayton Pickett. Has his usual flair after the fact. Clayton Pickett, sometimes like a caged animal there at the front of the net. So much energy, trying to come out all at once. And that shot wide outside the back line. And Milford giving themselves some breathing room now, up 18-13. Daig settling this game down nicely on his serve and get some love from the top of the net there. The Pioneers set it up on the left side. Now Milford counters with Philadelphia, gets the deflection. And down for the Milford point, now up 19-13. And now, awkward sequence there again for St. John's, but they're able to survive it. Quick deflection up front. Now the long setup for Philadelphia, gets a high deflection beyond the back line. Now takes a bounce off the basketball hoop, and that will land for another Milford point. That ball had ricochets all over the place on both sides of the floor. Coach Seaver on the St. John's side electing not to call a timeout. He wants to try to see if his team can play their way out of this. Did have a few quick words for the huddle in between points. But Daig is going to just keep it going here. And that just grabs a piece of the back line. St. John's bailed on it. And right now, Coach Seaver trying to make eye contact with that judge on the back line. He seemed to feel like that was out. Hard to tell from our setup, but plenty of eyes on this court on the officiating crew. And a hard deflection for Boaventura. He absorbs it. And a smile on his face now as Zach Brown drops it in front of David Wickstrom for another kill. Boaventura taking a very hard deflection. Got it clean off the face and laughs about it after, showing great toughness out there for the Hawks. And it looks like they might pull Boaventura off the court to give him a look. Boaventura pleading his case that he's all right, but the Milford athletic trainer out to at least give him a quick look. Milford wants to just keep this momentum rolling. They've taken this from a 2-point lead to now being just 3 points away from closing out this first set. They will let Boaventura stay out on the court. Milford a 9-point lead. Again, 3 points away from a set win. Now, again, poor communication at the net for St. John's. Here's a rocket off the hand of Clayton Pickett. 23-13. The complexion of this first set changing in a hurry in the favor of the Scarlet Hawks. Setup comes across to the left side. Milford ready to meet it. Now Philadelphia has his shot blocked. Dake will set it up for Philadelphia once again, softer this time. Across the middle for St. John's. Quick reactions from Clayton Pickett, but that ball deflects off to the near side behind the net, and that lengthy streak on the serve of Matt Dake finally comes to an end, but outstanding work all the way around for the Scarlet Hawks. A 9-point lead now at 23-14 in St. John's with a lot of work to do and not a lot of margin for error. Serve now falls to Mark Samaha. Now Pickett. Clayton Pickett showing some kind of strength in this first set, overpowering the Pioneers. That going as a violation for the Scarlet Hawks. So that time unable to get the point. Excellent awareness from Boaventura along the near sideline. Pulling the hands in at the last moment, and now set point for the Scarlet Hawks will come on the serve of their captain, Zach Brown. Quick setup over the middle, and Pickett trying to time that jump, could not quite get the block. And so on serve now, Eric Backman. Trying to buy the Pioneers a little more time in this first set. The gym about as quiet as it's been since the match began. And the serve away, and Pickett ducking out of the way. Boaventura not quite ready. And an easy ace for Backman. And Coach Mainini immediately out for some conversation afterwards. Wants to keep this team focused in. Seven-point lead for the Hawks. Still on set point. The dig this time for Boaventura. Here's Philadelphia, and Tiago Philadelphia with the kill to finish things up here in the first set, 25-17. The Hawks withstand a nice surge from St. John's in the middle of that set, but Matt Dake leading the way with an outstanding service game, and Milford takes the first set of this quarterfinal round matchup in the MIAA playoffs. A quick timeout to flip the court, and we will be back with set number 2 next here on this playoff coverage of Scarlet Hawks Athletics here on Milford TV. Back inside the Milford gym, time to get set number 2 started in this quarterfinal matchup of the D1 Central bracket, the 2019 MIAA playoffs right here in the Milford gym. And the Scarlet Hawks with a 25-17 win in the first set. Collecting 10 straight points off the service game of Matt Dake to build up a lead that they did not relinquish. But St. John's, meanwhile, will claim the first point in the second set. And a little bit of miscommunication on the right side involving Clayton Pickett. And Pickett with some words from his coach afterwards. This is the first year on the varsity team for Clayton Pickett, but Coach Mainini has had so many words of praise for how Pickett has been able to pick up the game and how his energy level has served as a huge boost to this team when they've needed it this year. 2 straight points for St. John's as they look to even this playoff matchup. This Eric Backman on serve. He was on serve to finish out that first set. Now back out there again to start set 2. Here's Philadelphia to the back row. Hard shot out of the hand of Tommy Donahue. And Milford counters with Zach Brown, but his shot drifts beyond the near sideline. Good start for the visitors. Right now, Coach Dan Seaver with a lot of communication with his bench players going over stats from that first set. Hard shot blocked up front for Milford. Tommy Donahue with that blast, but the front row able to block it. And Milford finally with a point in the second set. Trailing at 3-1 as Caetano will open things up on serve for the home team. A lot of seats on the sidelines for these two benches. They have gone unutilized for everyone except the coaches to this point in the match. Everyone's standing. The student section has been standing as well. Sprawling play for Zach Brown. Now Boaventura pops it over the front row, but that will not be returned. Back to action now for Caetano. Flip shot over, diving play for Caetano to save it. Now one-handed over by St. John's. Set up over the middle for Pickett, but St. John's was ready. The block from Tommy Donahue, who had the height advantage. So St. John's seizing the momentum. Now Boaventura sending that one off the outstretched hand of David Wickstrom, who may have been better served pulling that hand in. That might have gone beyond the back line. Instead, that hand probably feeling like it just popped into a hornet's nest. There's Carvalho now. Donahue, another rocket, but that one long. And so Milford evening up the set now at 4 apiece. And a hard deflection. Out of play. And Milford now takes the lead for the first time in the second set, so able to weather that early 3-0 start, 4-1 start. It was a successful regular season for the Pioneers. Winning the Western Alliance, of course, they no longer had Milford to contend with. They finished the regular season at 16-6. Boston College High ended up finishing in second in the Western Alliance standings at 11-6. As Carvalho can't handle the speed that time on the back line, did everything he could. A substitution now on the side of the Pioneers before we continue. A 1-point Milford lead. Boaventura, a part of the duo that blocked that shot, Spencer Sweeney. Now Zach Brown to the back, nearly scraping the roof. And a hard deflection, but Pioneers return it. Now Brown to the back row. Set up for Donahue again. Caetano. That deflection too far, up and over the scorer's table. Orellana going as far as he could go. But a swing now to put St. John's back on top. Boaventura with a hard blast. And the violation for the Pioneers. Tying it up at 7-all. And on serve now, Josh Orellana. A quick setup over the middle for Sweeney. Caught Milford flat-footed. Communication coming from the captains, Brown and Carvalho, before the serve. Another chance for Boaventura, and he drops it in right in front of David Wickstrom. Wickstrom's had his work cut out for him on the back row with some of these hard blast return shots from the Scarlet Hawks, from Boaventura, Brown, and Pickett. Tied up at 8. And another chance for Wickstrom after he mishandled the initial contact. And again, the elevated official at the net ruling that a point in Milford's favor after the initial call of out on the back. So that pushes the Hawks back in front 9-8. More from Boaventura. And after the setup by Backman, he gets it back and gets the kill. St. John's, like Milford, had some tough tests on the back end of their regular season schedule as Spencer Sweeney collects the ace. St. John's playing the likes of Winchester High, Westfield High, and Agawam, a couple of Western Mass powerhouse teams, and a Boston area powerhouse team in which they lost all 3 of those matches. They lost 3 out of their final 4 regular season games. But they were able to flip the switch once the playoffs started, cruising to victory in their first round matchup. That one coming against Wachusett to earn their spot here. And so a similar story for Milford. They ended up playing Lawrence on the last day of the regular season. Went to 5 sets but came up short. And Matt Daig, who was so good on his service game in set 1, fires that one into the net to push St. John's again on top, 11-10. So this was right about the spot that we were at in the first set, exchanging leads, where Milford was able to go on that big roll. We'll see if they can do something similar here in set number 2. Dug out by Zach Brown. Now Philadelphia slaps that over. And a held ball on the St. John's side. 11-11. Milford head basketball coach Paul Seaver taking in this match, no doubt with some mixed emotions with his allegiance to the Scarlet Hawks and also watching his brother at the helm of St. John's. Philadelphia with a blast that's dug out. Delivered right back across the court to Eric Backman. He's had a nice game. Gives his team the lead back at 12-11. We have not seen a timeout called for either of these groups so far in this match. The coaching staff has more or less stayed out of the way to let their teams figure it out. And Clayton Pickett with a roar after he gets the kill, dropping it in just in front of the far sideline. If you're a Milford fan, you'll love that emotion pouring out of Clayton Pickett. If you're a fan of the opposition, you hate it. Had a lot of discussion with Coach Mainini before this playoff run started about how the team needs to handle their emotions as they enter into the playoffs, and talking about how it's a fine line between letting your emotions fuel you or letting your emotions fuel your frustrations. And we've seen that pendulum swing both ways for Milford during the regular season. We know they need that emotion to play at their peak. Another hard blast from the left side. Carvalho doing an excellent job of handling it. And Zach Brown getting blocked. Not an easy task to get a line drive past this trio up front for the Pioneers. Tommy Donahue, Spencer Sweeney, and Andrew Toth, three of the lengthiest players on this roster, use their height well. It's a 15-13 lead now for the Pioneers as Boaventura unleashes a blast. Returned over but out. Milford down by just a single point with Carvalho to serve. And a block on the Milford side this time. That's Philadelphia and Brandow teaming up. Getting the student section once again pumped up. They still have not yet sat down since they entered the building. A lot of seniors in that student section. A lot of seniors on this floor for Milford that just enjoyed their graduation ceremony this past Sunday. You know, these seniors on the Milford volleyball team on a mission. A lot of these seniors tasted the disappointment, the bitter disappointment of a playoff elimination on the soccer field this past fall. Do not want to feel that again. St. John's calling for the deflection, and it did indeed deflect off the fingertips of the Milford front row. Neither side has been able to expand out a lead here in the second set. Serve coming from Michael McCabe. Here's Boaventura, and that one in by a good margin. And that kill getting a 10 out of 10 from the bench on the Scarlet Hawks side. Here's Josh Orellana now on serve. Blasted over. 17 all. Tommy Donahue takes over on serve and drops it in just in front of the back line. Brown and Carvalho with a look back at the official after the call, but that pushes St. John's back in front, 18-17. Now Carvalho deflects that one all the way to the front, eventually pushed back over. Now two-handed over from the Pioneers. Orellana will set up Boaventura. Does it stay in? Yes, it does. In for the kill for Joao Boaventura. Joao Boaventura, the regular season kills leader for the Scarlet Hawks with 294. Next closest was Zach Brown at 180. Tied at 18 now. And off the hands in the back line for St. John's from Ansh Patel. Drifted over to a vacated spot right up by the net. Milford will take it. Jumping back on top, 19-18. Late stages now of the second set. Now Philadelphia, and again off the hands of Patel. Milford picking on Ansh Patel on these last couple of sequences. Taking a 2-point lead. Now, quick reflexes there. Spencer Sweeney not waiting for that setup to get too high. As soon as it rose above the level of the net, he was ready to pounce. Threw Milford's timing off just enough. And back down to a 1-point margin. Sweeney now on serve. And Boaventura gets to it first. Now Philadelphia and drops it in front again of Ansh Patel. And some words of encouragement afterwards from the captain, Eric Backman, trying to keep Patel engaged. He's had a frustrating later stage of this set, the junior. And now here is Matt Daig. Patel able to dig that one. And the timing thrown off in front for Casey Sullivan. Able to survive it. And Patel, again with a nice play, sent it right clean over the net, but Clayton Pickett there for the kill, and Milford now 3 points away from taking a commanding lead. And Patel now will head to the bench. Tommy Donahue returns to the floor. Donahue gets to that one. And a violation up by the net for the Pioneers, and Milford closing in 23-19. Daig releases the serve and not enough elevation on it. So the window starting to open once again for St. John's. They only trail by 3, but Milford needs just 2 more for the set. Carvalho steps in front of Zach Brown for the dig. And the block, but a violation for St. John's, and Milford now at set point. 24-20. The captain, Zach Brown, looking to close it out. Serve to the back. And set up for St. John's, Eric Backman, who keeps play alive. 24-21 now. Orellana sets it up across the way for Philadelphia with his little flip shot that he has done so well all season long, and it works to perfection there to close down the set with a 25-21 win. St. John's with some disagreement, but they will lose the argument with the officials. So Milford now in full command, up 2-0. And we will be right back with coverage of the third set right after this here on Milford TV. Tim Coet back here with you in the Milford gym. Set number 3 getting started between the Milford Scarlet Hawks and the St. John's Pioneers. The quarterfinal round of the MIAA tournament. St. John's grabbing the first point. They grabbed the first 3 points in the second set, but Milford ultimately coming back to take it 25-21, so Milford with a 2-0 advantage. The winner of this match will face off against the Natick Redhawks in the semifinals, which of course for the Scarlet Hawks, if they are able to close things out, it would set up a rematch of last year's D1 Central semifinal. The only difference would be if Milford does advance, that matchup would be here in the Milford gym instead of in the Natick gym as it was a year ago. If St. John's were to come back and win, that match would be held in Natick, but some business to attend to here before we continue down the road in this bracket. As we've mentioned from the beginning, Milford, the number 2 seed in this bracket. The only team seeded higher than them was Assabet Valley, despite Milford having the most wins of any team in the playoff field. Assabet finished the year at 16-2, Milford at 18-3, so a slightly better winning percentage for Assabet Valley, allowing them to claim the number 1 seed. Assabet was able to enjoy a bye through the first round. They were the only team awarded a bye. A 2-1 score here as Orellana flips one over with his back to the net. It's the first time we've seen him try that tonight. And in the end, the sequence results in another point for St. John's. They're pumped up, as are their fans, taking a 3-1 lead. Assabet Valley will take on the Nipmuc Warriors. That game actually taking place as we speak. Two teams already set and ready to go for the semifinals, one on each side of the bracket. As Boaventura sends another laser over the net for a kill. Cuts into the early Natick deficit. But we already told you Natick sewed up their spot in the semifinals. The Redhawks with a 3-1 victory over Worcester North in round 1. They then swept the King Philip Warriors out of the tournament to earn their spot in the semis. On the other side of the bracket, it is Lincoln Sudbury, another team that Milford has playoff history against. Locking up a spot in the semifinals, awaiting the winner of that Assabet Valley-Nipmuc matchup. So that's just a quick look through how this bracket has unfolded so far. Things unfolding now here in set number 3 with St. John's up 4-2. The serve away for Eric Backman. And the block at the net. That looked to be Casey Sullivan, the first to get his hands on it. And St. John's with a surge in the early stages of this set, similar to what we saw in the second. And Tiago Carvalho watching that serve sail by and drop in a good 1.5 in front of the back line. An easy ace for Eric Backman. And this time, Caetano not leaving anything to chance. Orellana with a dive. Here's Caetano. He keeps it alive, and too many touches on the Milford side. A couple of athletic plays for Orellana and Caetano, and for the first time all match, we will see a timeout called. Coach Mainini trying to calm his varsity squad down as St. John's has come out firing here in set 3, taking a 7-2 lead, so we will pause very briefly for this timeout. We'll have more action for you. Milford leading this quarterfinal match 2-1 here on Milford TV. While we could not hear the conversation between Coach Mainini and his team during that timeout, part of it was not all that difficult to read the lips of Coach Mainini, telling his team that these playoffs are not about just one match or two matches, that they have 6 matches that they need to win if they're going to claim a state championship. So trying to convince his group to stay the course, to stay up for each and every moment of these playoff contests. It's certainly a worthwhile message to this group. But Gabe Brandow unable to make that play up front for the Scarlet Hawks, and another point for St. John's. Their fans, they haven't had a lot to cheer for at times tonight, but seeing their best run so far of the match. And all of this has come on the serve of Eric Backman. And another return shot sent long for the Scarlet Hawks, who right now are searching for answers. It's been a lot of confidence on the Milford side of the floor throughout this match, but those faces getting a little more serious here as they are now staring up at a 7-point deficit. Orellana for Brandow, but it's blocked again. And right now that front line for St. John's is a wall that Milford is having a tough time getting around. In particular, Casey Sullivan. (10-2) in favor of the Pioneers. They'll try it now from Boaventura, but again his shot is blocked. And right now, St. John's making it look easy up front. Milford has a lot of tools to their advantage. Height is not necessarily one of them, particularly in this matchup. So needing to try to find a way to adjust for that. Orellana will push it over to Boaventura, and this time he's able to get it past that front line and finally bring an end to an extended run. Eight consecutive points for St. John's. And now Brandow, this time, able to spike that one down. The Scarlet Hawks trying to chip into this deficit. Gotten it down to 7. Milford hoping for the sweep. St. John's just hoping to push it on to a 4th set. Here's Philadelphia. That drifted past the front, but was played from there. Carvalho pops that up. Orellana with the pushover. Orellana now for Brown. This time it deflects off the hands of that front group. And down for the Milford point. And the Scarlet Hawks fans now starting to get loud again. Service game continues for Boaventura. And an awkward hit. Can St. John's save it? Glances off the net. And out of play. So 3 straight points now for Milford. Popped up for grabs. Sullivan pushes it over. Here's Philadelphia, makes it playable for Brown. To the left side now, Carvalho. Orellana, an easier setup for Philadelphia, but it's dug out by Backman. Now all the way to the net. Carvalho into the slide as he approached the net, but couldn't make the play. That breaks up the string. St. John's with a substitution. Now Philadelphia softly pushed over by Spencer Sweeney, immediately returned by the Pioneers. And now off the hands of David Wickstrom. A 5-point St. John's lead. And now Matt Daig on serve. Elevated by St. John's, pushed up by Boaventura. Zach Brown stays with it at the net. Now the setup for Clayton Pickett, who delivers a rocket off of Eric Backman and out. And Clayton Pickett lighting up this Milford crowd. The student section has been a huge factor in Milford's favor. The jungle in full force and Clayton Pickett in full force out on the court. Back-to-back plays for Clayton Pickett, drawing Milford closer. Now just a 3-point margin. At one point, it was an 11-3 St. John's lead. Now Pickett with a good play up front. Philadelphia carefully sends that one over. Now to the near sideline, and that looked to be out, but the officials will call it in. And about 100 Milford-clad referees on the sidelines voicing their disapproval. Makes it a 13-9 score. And that serve well short for Mark Samaha. Sends it right back over onto the Milford side for Zach Brown. And from the left side, and Boaventura taking a blast off the right fist. Could see him react ever so briefly after the fact. Boaventura showed a lot of toughness in this match, took a very hard shot off the face in the first set and just laughed it off. Now takes a blast off the hand. And now Pickett from the right side. Pickett a huge factor in this third set right now for the Scarlet Hawks, keeping them close. Still trailing it by 3. Drifting over to the left side for St. John's. Diving play for Milford. Boaventura was deflected off the front. Now Sent off the hands of Zach Brown, who claps out the frustrations after letting that ball get by him. And it's up to a 4-point St. John's lead. St. John's has led for the duration of this third set. Here's Pickett this time. St. John's was ready. And now Boaventura, effective from the left side. And the Hawks starting to get some of that swagger back out on the floor. Trailing by 4 points. Right now, Clayton Pickett to the sideline for a breather. Philadelphia on the sideline as well. Brandao and Boaventura teaming up for that block. And then the double hit for St. John's. Helps creep Milford closer. And Clayton Pickett giving athletic director Peter Boucher a high five as he roams the sideline, eager to get back out on the floor. Tiago Carvalho with the serve. Eric Backman trying to time that just right against the jump on the Milford side, but ended up firing it into the net. And this is as close as Milford has been since the first points of this third set, trailing by just 2. They'll set it up on the right, and Milford overcommitting to that far sideline, left a wide open spot on the floor on the near side, and St. John's exploits it. 3-point lead as Tommy Donahue will serve again for the visitors. And Orellana fakes the set. Gets his hands on it a second time, and this time delivers the point for the Scarlet Hawks. A 2-point margin. Orellana now taking over on serve. Pushed all the way to the net. Wickstrom allowing that ball to drift a little too far. The St. John's front row trying to play it off that bounce on the net, but they couldn't do it. But they answer right back with a hard blast. Milford briefly cutting it to a 1-point margin, but St. John's answering back. Orellana pushes it to Boaventura, and somehow St. John's able to absorb it. Now Brandao with quick reactions at the net. And St. John's that time able to split Brandao and Boaventura. This game just over the 1-hour mark. It has been a quick pace to these first 3 sets. Orellana feeds it back to Brandao, and Brandao does the rest. Can Milford find some consistency on their serve in this third set? Joao Boaventura, the senior captain, trying to provide it. Line drive serve That ate up Backman a bit, but St. John's keeps it going. Now Philadelphia back out on the floor. This one popped straight up, a soft return. Couple of diving plays for Milford and eventually pushed back over by Boaventura, and Wickstrom can't handle what was a very soft delivery. And a costly mistake for Wickstrom, the senior. And that again breathes life into the Milford crowd as Milford now trails it by just one. And St. John's coach Dan Seaver stoic on the sidelines. Once again electing to let his team try and figure it out without the benefit of a timeout. Here's Philadelphia, and Philadelphia gets it past Wickstrom for the kill. And that brings Milford all the way back into a dead heat, 19-19. St. John's once led this third set by 8 points. It took Milford until now to dig their way out of it, but evened up now at 19. And a race to the finish line in this third set begins. And they award the point on the St. John's side. So the Pioneers go right back in front. They answer back. And David Wickstrom, who at times has had a tough night on that back line, he delivers the serve. Zach Brown trying to catch that front row by surprise, but St. John's ready and waiting. And right back up by 2 now as the Pioneers respond. Orellana to Philadelphia. Another violation for the Pioneers. And it's St. John's 21, Milford 20. Back out onto the floor comes Matt Daig. He shined for Milford in the first set. Gave them the separation they needed to set the tone in this match. And tied up again, 21-21. Can Milford take their first lead in this third set? The serve away for Daig. From the left side, Boaventura able to get a piece, and Philadelphia a little early on the jump. And the lead swings back to St. John's. They will serve. 3 points away from a desperately needed set win to keep this match going. Easily handled by Boaventura. Now Philadelphia way too strong on that cross-court shot. 23-21, and Coach Mainini is going to take the timeout. A win in this set for Milford would send them on to the semifinals, but St. John's not ready to give up just yet. They are 2 points away from sending us on to a fourth set. We'll see who can claim a victory in this back and forth third set. Back with more in a moment here on Milford TV. Milford using every second of that timeout. St. John's was back out on the court, ready to go. And the serve now away from Mark Samaha. It'll come from Zach Brown on the right side for Milford. Communication issues for the Pioneers to Milford's benefit. And Brown now on serve, needing to put Milford on a run. Drops it into the hands of David Wickstrom. Now Carvalho, Orellana, the high setup for Brown, gets it almost over the front row, a deflection, and it goes out of play. And Milford tying this set up at 23. A crucial point here. It's going to put one team on the verge of a set win. Who will it be? Two-handed over by St. John's, now returned by Orellana. Quickened the pace and got the result he wanted. And so it will be the Scarlet Hawks, who have had the briefest of leads in this third set, but they lead here at this crucial time. They have set point. It is match point for the Scarlet Hawks. And Zach Brown trying to finish it out. The serve away. Deflects to the front. The block for Orellana and Pickett. And Wickstrom able to save it for the Pioneers. Now Pickett again. And he sends that too long right into the feet of the official on the backside. And Pickett a little too amped up. He owns up to it right after the fact. And so tied up at 24, so we'll go beyond 25 points in this third set. Patel with the serve for St. John's. Now the setup from the right side. Boaventura doing a nice job of digging that out. Now Boaventura the first to get to it again. Now here's Philadelphia. And that drops in. Deflected off the front row of St. John's. And again, Milford will have match point. 25-24. Both teams with outstanding efforts here in the third set, but Lucas Caetano hoping it comes to an end right here. The serve away, and dug out by Wickstrom. Dangerous. And getting it past the front row of the Scarlet Hawks, and not done yet. Tied up at 25. And the serve away for St. John's, and that just goes long. Thiago Carvalho keeping a watchful eye on that one all the way, pulled the hands in at the last second. Outstanding court awareness for Thiago Carvalho, and he will take over on serve now as Milford will have their third match point. Just skipping over the net. Now popped back over by St. John's. Orellana will set it up for Brandow, and that one is in, and that is that. Milford comes back from a big deficit in this third set, and they win it 27-25. And for the second time in these 2019 playoffs, Milford enjoys a three-set sweep. St. John's pushing the Scarlet Hawks, particularly here in set number 3. But the Hawks take care of business here on their home floor, and they defeat the St. John's Pioneers by that final of 3-0. So St. John's eliminated, and Milford for the second straight season will play on to the D1 Central semifinals, and the team they're waiting for them is the same team they faced a year ago, the Natick Redhawks. Natick defeating Milford in the regular season this year, so Milford ready for some payback. We'll see if they can deliver it. We expect that match will be played on Friday night here in the Milford gym this week, but we will keep you updated on our Twitter account of any updates to that. We also encourage you to follow the Milford athletic staff at Hawk Nation AD for all of the latest on this Milford volleyball playoff run. But that will wrap up our coverage here tonight. Outstanding work by our Milford TV crew, our director and statistician Igor Freeman, and our camera operator Scott Crisafulli. And I am Tim Coet. That final score, one final time, Milford with a 3-set sweep over the St. John's Pioneers, and Milford is headed to the D1 Central semifinal. This has been a presentation of Milford High School Athletics here on Milford TV. So long, everybody.